Are we live? Broad daylight on a Sunday with nothing to do? Hopefully the kids don't get too loud. We're gonna check out some YouTube videos and shit. Just chilling. Mic one, mic one. Should be good. What we got? Talking to some people in Discord. Let me get the stream up real quick. Should already did that, but rip. There we go. There we go. Good? Cool. Okay. Now I saw this video. I didn't finish it. I'm gonna have to go back to it. Yeah. It's a pretty good video. Some fan theories. Restart.
Well, there's less.
Let me cut the music real quick. Alright.
2 weeks until the fabled Pokemon presents.
True, what
I
up?
promised
Felt
myself
like we were
I would
just
look
talking.
into is what really happened in the war 3,000 years ago. Who really was involved? If I can put every piece of the puzzle together, from official interviews to random piece of dialogue in game. And while this
It's a pretty
takes
good
different
video.
turn, I hope you will leave
Putting a
this
few
video
theories together
saying,
with Kalos and
WTF.
Paldea. Like the Great War and shit. And the fighting countries. It's pretty cool. T-Tard, he's legit.
I wasn't thinking of doing this podcast again, but I really wanted to investigate the Kalos War. And so let's start from the beginning. This is what the game tells us. The man's beloved Pokemon took part in the war. And you can see one side on the left.
A little
with
story time for you
Hyperion,
guys.
Floette. Kalos developed some of the most impressive lore probably to date. Probably the most innovative for the Pokemon world. For how boxed in they are, especially after Black 2 and White 2 kind of failed when they tried to get more serious. They went pretty crazy, establishing this 3,000-year-old figure and trying to give a huge backstory to the Pokemon world, almost a mythological backstory. But a question that would fuel numerous headcanons over the years was,
Hitting up the
who exactly
Discord.
was Kalos fighting? If one side of this war is Kalos, what
I'm surprised no
one
one's came out with glass slabs. That might be a bad idea, but
of dialogue in game, and there was no answer.
tempered
to
glass.
this. But thankfully, I found something when looking at an interview that Masuda did in 2014. It's not going to give us too much info, but at least it gives us somewhere to start thinking from. I could not find the original Japanese for this. If Game Informer wants to release it, it'd be helpful, though I don't think this can be mistranslated really. The exact details of the war and its impact on the world of Pokemon are ambiguous. Will we ever learn more about what transpired during that war? And Masuda says, the war was a clash between two different countries. People treated Pokemon with special powers as mere tools in their conflict. They gathered lots of
Cheers.
Pokemon and Pokemon with unique powers. This long conflict was drawn out and many lives were lost.
Bad
in
for
order
you.
to emerge victorious, the soldiers believed that they needed even more powerful Pokemon. AZ loved his Pokemon, which he had received from his late mother, but it was forcefully taken from him by the soldiers. Let me pause right there. As we'll discuss later on in this, isn't AZ the king? What king gets his Pokemon taken from the soldiers? This is why I don't have too much confidence
wonder if
in Game Freak at
his
times.
brother's gonna be
They're
in the
not
next
too
game,
sure what
like
they
ZA,
established. They
AZ.
kind of go with
that-
the flow and forget.
What's his brother's
sometimes
name?
If it contradicts what they wrote earlier. I just want you to know Game Freak does this. I know soldiers did not just take the king's Floette and he had to cry in his room.
I mean, it makes
for
sense to be
years,
ZA,
the
right?
backstory describes until he gets a casket
And he was
back.
fighting with
But
him.
anyhow, it's useful
The brother's name
information.
is not
Keep reading.
explicitly stated in the
Received it from his
game.
late mother, but it was forcibly
but,
taken from
I
him
mean-
by the soldiers. His Pokemon ended up becoming
AZ,
just another
ZA, it kinda makes
sacrifice
sense,
in the
right?
war. Distraught with grief, AZ began work on his machine. Little did he know that his creation would bring great sorrow to the world. Whatever you think that means. Xenia seems to imply in Emerald that that world has no Kalos War in its history. So what separates the Mega Evolution timeline from the normal timeline is this war, which only brings more value to what this war was. Of course,
UAP,
back
what
then,
up?
Game Freak wrote that because
Watching some
they
lore
were making
shit.
it up as they go, and they didn't know
Some
Mega
theory-
Evolution
fan
would
theories.
be pushed to the sidelines, and they would just introduce more gimmicks and more lore about different countries as 3,000 years ago. But as we return to Legends ZA and Megas in the current day, maybe there's
Good
a
to see you guys
soft
here.
spot for
I
Mega
appreciate you
Evolution,
stopping in.
and it's a bit more important than the other gimmicks. The last lead I found as to who this war could be against does come in some pieces of dialogue.
It's like
in
middle of the night
familiar
for you,
face
UAP.
of AZ's younger brother. Now this is kind of mind-blowing. There's a quote from a book on Lysander's desk that says, AZ had a younger brother. It said that he led a legion of greedy souls who wanted
There's-
to seize the Kalos region.
There's so much shit to learn. Like it keeps going back in a circle, and they keep adding shit to new. Like you get these new theories everywhere.
His
But
intention
Kalos,
was to make it his own.
Paldea,
This
right next door to
makes
each
it sound
other.
like the war.
The Great War,
If Masa
two different
says it was between
countries,
two
the
countries,
brothers.
again, give me the original
Saraledge,
script.
Armarouge is based
At a
on
glance, this would
Spain.
make it seem like some
Spain,
kind of
France,
civil war, that AZ was fighting his own brother that wanted to usurp the throne from him and lead Kalos in a better direction. Which, if this happened before the launching of the weapon, maybe AZ's brother was a better leader than AZ. I'm sure he wouldn't have made a machine and genocided. His dark intention was to make it his own. But when he saw how Kalos had been ravaged by the war, he took the weapon his brother had created and buried that weapon deep underground. Now, this
21:30,
book seems
sun
to
24/7
span
here now.
over a long
Oh,
period of
shit.
time. The first half
10 in the
of him
morning.
wanting to seize Kalos seems to be before the weapon was launched. And then the second half, where he doesn't want Kalos anymore, seems to be after it was launched.
9, 8.
Which still can support the idea that it really was his own younger brother that he was fighting, and this was some kind of civil war. I looked at it in Japanese, and there are some discrepancies, but it's not too important. Like highlighted in orange, uba utameni, which means to take by force, but it doesn't mention anywhere that he was greedy. And
I wonder
had
how
some
long it
malicious
takes to learn
intent.
Japanese.
All of that seems fabricated. when
Shook's
they
probably still
translate it to
learning. He's been there for
English.
10 years now.
Could have been his brother was a more fit leader who was trying to lead Kalos in a better direction. Anyhow, even if it was his younger brother that's on the other side of that war, it doesn't disprove the fun we're about to have in this video. So, one of the most interesting theories since Scarlet and
Let's
Violet
go
came out
1.5.
is that the war was against
Yeah, it's a
Paldea.
30-minute video.
You all know this theory, and I'm sure Game well intended us to think of this theory when they suddenly introduced a region right beside Kalos.
But
with
I
a
ain't got
giant
shit to
hole
do.
in it.
It's
Even
Sunday.
if they give us an explanation like a crater landed there, they know
All I got
exactly
is
what they're
time.
doing. This is
Till my
even
kids
more
start yelling at me,
overt
which I'm
than the
surprised they
region
haven't.
being shaped like a turtle. But let's not talk about turtle theory. There's plenty of podcasts for this later. About Spain, or the Iberian
Did you
Peninsula.
guys see
but let's
that?
simplify it to
Paldea
split
looks
this
like a
video.
turtle.
Spain and France
That's pretty crazy, huh?
fought each other plenty of times over the last 800 years. And some of the most prominent of these wars is the Franco-Spanish War, fought between France and Spain, which ended with the Sun King marrying a Spanish princess, a political marriage to shut it up, but a war technically won by France, gaining them these new territories, as well as the War of Spanish Succession. This one is a huge war, which started with the King
I didn't
of
realize
Spain
ZA
dying
or
with
his
no
brother
children.
was a
Some say because he's too inbred. Don't look at me. But since there was no one to
descendant
take
of
the throne, while he was on his
Lysander.
deathbed, he named his successor as
I don't know
Philip of
how
Anjou.
AZ
I'm probably saying that
isn't,
wrong, who
if
is
they're
the
brothers.
grandson of the legendary Sun King of France. So the Spanish king is gonna die, and he names a French king's grandson to take the throne. This pissed off the rest of Europe, who were like, "You're about to unite France and Spain together," and it caused this grand alliance to form with several countries who wanted a king from Austria to be planted there instead. They were too terrified of the European balance being disrupted. This grand alliance is pretty cool. And this is why I wanted to bring up this war. It consists of, if you look at the red, Great
I
Britain,
can hear him back
the
there
Dutch Republic,
fighting.
Holy Roman Empire,
About to get into
Portugal,
some shit.
Savoy, Prussia,
Somebody's gonna come up here and
Hanover,
tell
I'm
on
saying all those
somebody
right.
else.
They wanted to fight to install, well, I said king, but he's actually a little boy at this time. They wanted him to take the throne so we could separate France from Spain. So they worked so hard to fight this war against the blue, which was, of course, you can see there. And
Greeny,
if I
what
brought
up?
that Iberian
Damn,
Peninsula bit,
legends.
Portugal was on the other side during this. It
Drew,
simplified to
Greeny,
France
UAP.
and Spain, who had a lot more territory back then.
What
with
y'all getting into?
Naples and Bavaria. As you can see, that is quite a giant war. You could almost say it's like a world war, even though it really just took place in this European part of the world. But that is huge.
Appreciate you
The war
stopping in.
ultimately ended with the grandson of the Sun King getting the throne, but under the condition that he renounce the French throne. And also that
Watching some
France
fan
and Spain
theories and shit.
never unite under one crown. This was the treaty signed. and then everyone
Preparations
went
for
their separate ways.
ZA.
What was important is that these nations all remain balanced to some extent. If any nation starts to get too powerful, the other nations will ally against them. Earlier in the history, you had Spain as a part of a grand alliance against France. So it's no exact legion to each other. Everyone needs to keep each other in check.
It's like a
Which is
fan
why I
theory. I
wanted
was
to
trying to
bring it
figure
up.
out
That's just-
some details on like the Great War back in like the Kalos region and Paldea and shit. It's still Pokemon related.
Suspiciously interesting backstory.
Super
of
nerdy.
it.
Yeah.
Anyhow, back to Pokemon.
AZ's the
Now, if we
old
were to
guy,
say that it really is Paldea and Kalos.
That wanted to create the great weapon in Kalos. Ended up destroying everybody well, it didn't. I don't think they used it. There's two different versions, right? Two different Kalos regions, one with megas and one without. It's confusing, but
And AZ launched the ultimate weapon, which would imply AZ was in Paldea around the Great Crater at that time, and destroyed all.
and he's thinking that Paldea is the country that they went to war with the Great War 3,000 years ago, and Paldea was established 1,000 years later. Nerd shit, just chilling. Your average, typical shit.
The battlefield, leaving the mark of Area Zero. It would have to imply Area Zero is 3,000 years old, but the game well documents that
XY
Area
best
Zero
gen.
is not 3,000 years
Gen
old.
3,
It dates
but
back to
Megas,
1 million
yes.
years ago. Or if you get
You
further
still got
back,
Mega
even go as far
Sableye,
as to
so
say
that
2
yeah,
million years
I
ago.
can agree with
So
that.
unless the crater's age is emphasized here, this theory can't work. That this is the product of the ultimate weapon, which staring at it now, how crazy if Game
I hope we
Freak
get
is right
some
under our
new
nose,
new
or
gen
even hide
megas.
it. But there's some dates
Sarah
to play with.
Ledge,
Check as I put some dates in front of you. If I were to ask you the earliest point in Paldea's recorded
Logix,
history, how far back do you
Tinkaton,
think it
just a
goes?
couple.
It goes back to.
But I don't
2,000
know
years
how
ago,
they would
when a Paldean empire
relate it to
forms.
one another.
You learn this pretty early in the game when you take Rhyfort's
So I guess
classes.
that's
The
why we're
Paldean
watching
Empire
this,
began to rule
'cause they're
this
right
region
next door.
Approximately 2,000 years ago. They were so strong with resources that they decided to usher in the great age of piracy and sent goons down to find the One Piece in the crater. And they did this for the next 1,000 years, which meant that the descendants of this Paldean king would continue to do this again and again. But they were sacrificing the stability of their kingdom as they did it. And 1,000 years later, which puts us at 1,000 years ago today, the empire fell. Then, 200 years later, Uva or Naranja Academy is formed, and that leads to contemporary Paldea, which we have a much better recorded history of. Probably all the books in Uva and Naranja describe well the last 800 years, but not too well the stuff that came before that. Now, do you notice the fun Game Freak had with these dates? It is no coincidence. 2,000 years ago, the Paldean Empire forms. 800
1
years
second,
ago,
guys.
our academy forms. They did all this within the circle of 3,000 years. It allows me to make an interesting case here. See, if AZ did launch the weapon in Paldea, and Area Zero was ground zero for the attack, that means Paldea, as we knew it 3,000 years ago, was wiped out. And there is no transfer of history. Then, a whole 1,000 years later, we get our first Paldean history with an empire rising. The dates Game Freak chose to use secretly allow a history like this to be possible. Snarky on their end to do that. It must have been intentional. But something like this requires us to take too much liberty. Because as I said earlier, the crater has its own documented timeline. It's 1 million years old.
Kid came and asked for
Even
some.
though, as I showed with that
We got the
interview,
little
these
rainbow
people were willing
sherbet
to retcon
cups,
as they moved
like
through
the little
world.
mini ones.
Something like this is too big to retcon, and our main purpose of this video is
Pass
not
them
what we
out to
can turn
everybody.
Area Zero into by revealing 10 years from now, oh, it really is Aze's
Delicious
weapon
though,
of
by the way.
I want to know what Area Zero is right now. When they made Paldea, this giant turtle-looking region with a hole, did they intend at all that this could be where AZ's weapon landed? Because that's the real truth. And so, to bridge the gap and try to make use of all the information we have, I'm going to put forward a theory here. What if both are correct? Why say Terrapagus' history is inaccurate, that it got lost in seismic activity deep under Area Zero, or that the dating for the crater is inaccurate when they say it's 1 million years ago? What if the crater really was formed by some meteor that struck Paldea 1 million years ago? we have to talk about what this meteor really is.
Well,
Because
that's
at the bottom
getting
of Area
deep,
Zero,
dude.
we
Million
find
years ago
Tauropagus.
into
So this would
Paldea.
imply a similar history as Necrozma and Eternatus, that Tauropagus.
But it is
was
weird how they're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna introduce the Megas plus the Stellars plus all this shit that's happening at the same time. Like they're going through the anime, they're in Kalos right now, hiding out from the people in Paldea. So there's like you got stellar types, mega types. It'd be pretty cool. I played the new Pokemon games and almost no clue what he was talking about. What I get for skipping cutscenes. Yeah, I mean, people get deep though. Like you can't be expected to get this deep every time with something, right?
created on Pokemon Zen, but they started it.
That's why we
Tauropagus
watch.
was in the meteor when it fell, and it's some kind of godly Pokemon. Well, godly to us, that crashed into Paldea and started something. You see, because if Tauropagus is the Pokemon that it is today, this meteor would have been something more like, not the Tauropagus you find deep in Area Zero. It would have been something like a Mother Tauropagus or a Stellar Tauropagus. Stellar Tauropagus, of course, is the concept of turtles all the way down,
Tauropagus.
and the third turtle is a
Tauropagus.
giant Tauropagus. If you look at some of the Pokedex entries, they even describe it as something moving through space. So you combine this philosophical idea about Tauropagus carrying the Earth on its back with the actual material idea that there was a giant Stellar Tauropagus floating through space that crashed into Paldea a million years ago, creating the Great Crater. And what this would have done
My bad,
is
guys.
created giant beaming crystals
There we
out
go.
of Area Zero. There would have been many Tauropagus that landed on Earth that day.
Played way
in
too
the
much
Great-
Pokemon.
It might
Every
even
game,
have to
including
bless
all
the entire
versions.
Paldea to where these
500
spots were
plus-
beaming all over.
some
Well, it was a million years
1,000
ago, and
hours,
eventually has
damn.
come to where it's
I hope
only
you
in
still
the
got all
field
your like
that you see this
your
picture with the
handhelds
fog
with all the
blowing
save
up like
games
this.
and stuff.
What you see at
That's
the bottom
awesome.
with those giant crystals, they would be
You gotta
beaming
make
all
like
the
a
way to
little
the top
short or
there.
something so
But
we can
any
see.
civilization from a million years ago to,
Black and
let's
White
say,
2 is always my
4,000 years
favorite.
ago, would think of it as some godly crater. They would share rumors that there's some god that lives underneath it.
It's always
describe to the
Oris
rest of the
that's
world how
everybody's favorite.
beautiful and
You
glowing
don't-
it is,
you-
but they wouldn't be able to
I don't
do
really hear
much
Black
about
and
it.
White 2
It would
as a
just be
favorite.
crater filled with shooting crystals. And maybe people who live
X,
around
Y, and
the
Emerald,
crater
yeah.
are blessed for reasons they don't know. Because, as you can see with the tree that's in Area Zero, the terrestrial energy, you can feed off it and live. It is
Emerald's probably
filled with
top
life
tier.
Energy. Not to confuse it with AZ firing a weapon of life energy. Really, let's not confuse it, because I'm trying to combine all the information Game Freak gave us. But you see what I described creates a situation where people would live specifically alongside the crater. So when we get to 3,000 years ago in Paldea, where more advanced people start to show up and they realize they can make use of these crystals, and they start to create technology, as you see in the scripts for the Pokemon game, if you look at the files, the Great Crater of Paldea is referred to as Atlantis. And if you look deep in the crater, you see some tablet with indestructible technology, clearly something we're disconnected from, and something the Paldean Empire 2,000 years ago didn't use. What I'm trying to say is, the Paldea that AZ fought could have
Black and
been
White 2 isn't your
the
favorite. You
equivalent
just haven't
of
tried
the
it yet.
Atlanteans,
Yeah.
who were so technologically advanced because they were the first
Completely
civilization
redone.
living around the crater that actually did something with the crystals and scientifically enhanced
Two different
everything.
worlds, by the
Back
way,
in this
from the
Atlantean day
original
where the
Black and
terrestrial
White.
energy was overflowing much more, there was probably a further evolution to Glamora and all sorts of different variants. Just as you have
1,000
Exeggutor
hours.
growing differently in the sun, you would have had all sorts of different Pokemon evolving differently because of this overflowing power. These Atlanteans would have been the first ones to discover the existence of Tauropaguses, and plural.
I forget there's a Pokelantis, right? I forgot about that.
2,000 years ago didn't use. What I'm trying to say is, the Paldea that AZ fought could have been the equivalent of the Atlanteans, who were so technologically advanced because they were the first civilization living around the crater that actually did something with the
difficulty
crystals
slider?
and
Yeah.
scientifically enhanced everything.
Or at least make
Back
it
in this
harder as you
Atlantean day where
progress.
terrestrial energy was overflowing much more. There was probably a further evolution to Glamora and all sorts of different variants. Just as you have Exeggutor growing differently in the sun, you would have had all sorts of different Pokemon evolving differently because of this overflowing power. These Atlanteans would have been the first ones to discover the existence of Tauropaguses, and plural, with the main city of Atlantis being the main hub of this terrestrial energy itself, placed where? But on top of the crater, being the capital of this pre-ancient Paldea, this Atlantean Paldea. And this is the setting that AZ fired the weapon, which means, under my explanation, that AZ firing this weapon didn't create this entire situation. It did not create the entire crater. All it did was destroy the main capital, destroy Atlantis,
VGC tournaments?
destroy everything, and reset it to zero, to where people don't even know.
So I know you're about to. We're gonna have to play some Champions games. UOP. Put some. I hope they got like. I don't know. I hope they give you options of like. You can play with 2 Pokemon or 3 Pokemon or 5 Pokemon or like a 1v1 battle or a 2v2 battle. That'd be pretty cool.
Exists anymore, and thus the majority of the depths of the crater are preserved. and accurate to say this is a time capsule
Like
of how things were in the ancient past,
two
so that you can
trainers.
find the version of Area Zero you find today, where all the beaming crystals are gone, and only a couple at the very bottom coming from just the one last surviving Tropagus. That's interesting, right? This makes use of every bit of lore they gave us. Though there are some weirdnesses that Game Freak started. Like, for example, here's what a crater actually looks
Yeah, I
like.
hope it's good too. I
No
mean,
meteor
it's
or
Pokemon, but
celestial body that hits a planet is going to leave that deep.
they're
of
running
a
out
hole,
of excuses
unless the
these
planet is
days
made
with
of
the
gel.
what
Though
with
I've worked it out in
the
my head,
games
and
Game
an
Freak's putting
explanation
out
I can give
lately.
is that it's because it's Terrapagos.
They
It's
can
because
they
it's
can do
coated
better
in
for
this
sure.
terrestrial energy that it could pierce the
But
earth and go
they're on
deep
that
enough to
time
form this
limit, so
giant
they
hole.
try to
If you think about it any
as
other way,
least as
it's a comedy
possible.
on Game Freak's end. And don't get me started on making fun of them more. I mean, look at this crater. How the heck otherwise can it go so deep? So there's your answer for you, Game Freak. If that wasn't your answer to start with, feel free to turn it into the answer. Steal it. But yeah, this
But
is
who
why
knows how long before that they start making these games, right? It's got to be years in advance, which is crazy to think that they're keeping it under wraps that far.
deeper into the crater, you would find stuff like this tablet.
Like the Terra Leak
which
didn't
I
even
don't know why they used to block the cave.
only
that
pulled
has the
out
grassy symbol.
ZA
Clearly the
barely.
Ancient Paldeans, which I'll just call, for the sake of this video, the Atlantean Paldeans. I guess just Atlanteans. I guess it was a war.
As far
between
as we know, I
Atlantis
guess.
And Atlantis.
The guy that leaked all of it
Those
didn't really
remnants
put
that
out all the
Atlanteans
information.
were hiding. Of course, the actual dating of Atlantis is not 3,000 years ago in our world, but it's the code name, so that's not me making that up.
Okay, and what did I
This is
miss?
the inspiration for Area Zero. Something along the
There's a relation with
answer
the
for you,
3,000
Game Freak.
years.
If that wasn't your answer to start with, feel free to, like for entire crater, all it did was destroy the main capital, destroy Atlantis, destroy everything, and reset it to zero, to where people don't even know Tropagus exists anymore. And thus, the majority of the depths of the crater are preserved and accurate to say this is a time capsule of how things were in the ancient past, so that you can find the version of Area Zero you find today, where all the beaming crystals are gone, and only a couple at the very bottom coming from just the one last surviving Tropagus. That's interesting, right? This makes use of every bit of lore they gave us. Though there are some weirdnesses that Game Freak started. Like, for example, here's what a
Real
crater
secret
actually looks
rares,
like.
yeah, like you did,
No
like you
meteor
wouldn't even know
or
about them.
celestial body that
Like they
hits a
wouldn't get
planet
leaked, and you
is
just
going to leave
stumble
that
upon
deep
it,
of a
something
hole,
special.
unless the planet is made
That'd
of
be
gel.
nice. I mean,
Though
it'd
I've
get
worked out
leaked
in my head,
immediately
and
once the
an
set
explanation
came
I can
out,
give
but
is that
yeah, that'd be
it's because
cool.
it's Terrapagos. It's because it's coated in this
Like an
terrestrial energy
actual
that
secret.
It could pierce the earth and go deep enough to form this
Or
giant hole. If you think about it any
do
other
like
way,
a
it's
Ditto
comedy on
card
Game Freak's end.
where you wouldn't
And
know unless
don't
you
get me
peeled it
started on
off,
making fun of
right?
more.
And then it
I mean,
becomes like
look
a
at this crater. How the
SAR
heck
of
otherwise
something.
can it go so deep?
That'd
So
be
there's
pretty
your
cool.
answer for you, Game Freak. If that wasn't your answer to start with, feel free to turn it into the answer.
Or like a gold border,
But yeah,
just
this
a
is why
half
as you
art.
go deeper into the crater, you would find stuff like this tablet, which
Yeah,
I
that'd
don't
be
know why
cool.
they used to block the cave that has the grassy symbol, but clearly the ancient Paldeans, which I'll just call, for the sake of this video, the Atlantean Paldeans. I guess just Atlanteans. I guess it was a war between Kalos and Atlantis. Anyhow, it was remnants that the Atlanteans were hiding. Of course, the actual dating of Atlantis is not 3,000 years ago in our world, but it's the code name, so that's not me making that up. This is the inspiration for Area Zero. Something along the lines of what I said has to be what they intended. They just didn't go pretty deep in the games. The reason for that is Game Freak has entered this era where they'll save the lore. They intentionally didn't give us all the answers of Heat or a definitive answer of where the Paradox Pokemon are from, etc., because they want that for part 2 of Paldea, when down the line they make some modern-day Pokemon game in Paldea. As for the location of the ultimate weapon, AZ clearly moved it to Geosench. The game describes you being able to hear the cries of the souls of Pokemon, which to me
Damn.
makes it sound like this
That's
is
deep.
where AZ,
The
after
cries of
creating the ultimate
Pokemon.
weapon, this is where he sucked the souls
I
of
haven't
each
seen them.
Pokemon.
Are you serious? Is it to that point where I need to check them? Ditto prices? We'll come back to that. God. Let me
Turn
pull it
into
up
a
over here.
life-granting machine. And so when hiding the weapon much later, filled with sorrow, of course, what location would he choose but to return the weapon to the graves of the souls that he took to make it work? It is interesting to note, and I don't think Game Freak meant this part to be deep, that the hole that forms when you use the ultimate weapon is a lot like Area Zero's hole, where there's just a small mountainous wall by comparison, but a very deep hole. If this was a crater, you'd be able to see the bottom of it. But I think that's just Game Freak's early use of 3D models and all. That's just how they wanted to make it look. Let's not think too
Peelable
deep about
Ditto.
that. Now for something snarky. If you noticed, the war that I brought up as inspiration for what could be happening was the War of Spanish Succession.
I
which
see
you may
one.
have noticed
What is
is
this?
not Spain fighting France.
Can you guys see this? Yeah. Am I looking at the? What do I need to pull up? Same prices on the Spinnerack Ditto. 100 for one. Let's put the PSA 10 at the back. See what happens. If it changes. Holy shit. There's no fucking way. That's not, no. Let me see. Okay, $40 for the Bidoof. That's a 9 though. $40 for the 9. $100 for the Numel. Okay, so Japanese Ditto for 150 sold. What is happening to us? Where are we doing? Peelable Dittos. That's crazy.
They're on the same side. And why I use this war as the example is to show an oddity in what Game Freak has been doing, has been setting up ever since 2013. You see, in this war, you have all these European countries fighting each other to make sure they're all balanced and none of them gains too much power. And they always fight each
Spin
other
rack
to do this.
150 last
What I
sold.
notice odd on Game Freak's end
Peeled
is
spin
that
rack?
when they make Kalos,
The
in
Numel
France,
was fucking
and they take their break here for the
$100.
anniversary in Alola, rather than going to India, Australia, Mew's homeland in Guyana, there are places Game Freak can
150 right
explore
here.
if they want to world build Pokemon, various different parts of the world. But instead,
I guess
they go
Bidoof
back
isn't
to
as.
Europe.
Oh, it's
Not
because
just
it's
Europe,
the
but they
9.
go
I keep
straight
forgetting.
to a neighboring place to Kalos.
Yeah.
They go to Galar, right north of
$100.
Kalos. Then they go to Spain, connected to Kalos. It is not an accident. Look at the countries I just
an 8.
named. They're all filled with their own lore. and
9
beauty,
still.
but
That's
they
crazy
stick
though.
to this small
$35 for the
section of Europe,
9.
which gives me the
Pokemon
feeling
Go
that
Ditto.
what Game Freak really wanted to do was taking inspiration from the way these European countries fight each other. They wanted to establish that the war 3,000 years ago was between all of the European countries. They just didn't have a name as regions back then. What Game Freak would have been planning, again, this is entirely just what I'm thinking, but what Game Freak would have wanted to do was spoon feed us just a bit of lore of what happened 3,000 years ago. Then, over the course of the next games, introduce all these
When all the regions, all the legendaries fought, like all the legendaries of those regions fought each other against in the war. That's. I would like to. They need to make like a spin-off or something, like the anime, like a Great War spin-off or something. Something needs to. They need to show us something instead of just going before or going after. Because I think ZA is going to be after.
regions.
But I'm not sure if
and
the war
expand
even
what AZ
happened.
started,
I don't know.
Which means early in their notes,
Search
when
for
talking
10s.
about the Galar region and Zacian and Zamzentinal, they
Heard that. Oh shit. Where I search for 10s at?
would have wanted to expand
happened?
and show that Galar was a part of this war. Then, when making the
There we go.
Paldean games, they would have shown that Paldea was a part of this war, and so on. It just so happens Game Freak keeps getting cold feet when going too deep about their lore. Like if you think with Galar, the Zacian and Zamazenta story did not go too deep. But you'll notice the time period 3,000 years ago being quite important and overall popping up again and again. The Darkest Day happens 3,000 years ago, suspiciously. Paldea's history is missing from 3,000 years ago.
Drew, how
Maybe
do
even
I
America
search
was a
just for
part of this
10s?
war, because you can see
Always
Zekrom
just
and
type it
Reshiram
in.
erected in the Parfum Palace. And if you look at where Zekrom and Reshiram are from, they're from 2,500 years ago, when the Relic Castle is made by the Twin Heroes, which maybe the original dragon was a part of the war 3,000 years ago and goes on to be split 500 years later. As we saw in the Terra Leak, Game Freak did have some kind of creationist vision for the Pokemon world, where the setting is made over millions of years, but the actual story that unfolds involving humans and modern-day Pokemon maybe
Let
only
me know. I'll look it
spans,
up.
3,000 to 5,000 years, with a major
Here,
event
let me pull it
happening
over here.
ubiquitously, involving all the regions 3,000 years ago. As we see in the beta for Pokemon X and Y, the war actually depicts Giratina in it as well, almost like Game Freak wanted to leave a loose end when showing AZ's backstory, the same loose end they would continue to answer and reveal more about over the course of each other game, when constantly lurking and hovering around this 3,000-year-old time period. To go with this creationist vision, it would have been something like 3,000 years ago, every nation and region was living alongside their respective legendary Pokemon, mirroring how, for us, there are depictions of humans living
You did, it's
alongside
just
gods
showing 9s,
thousands
yeah.
of years ago.
There's only a
Almost as
couple
if
of them
eerie
for
era
sale,
lost to us.
or
If
that
anyone wonders
sold.
what really happened 3,000 years ago, were there really these mystical creatures?
I forget you guys are
It's that
behind. I
same
need to
eeriness Game
figure
Freak
out how to
wanted
fix that.
capture in this. This means after Arceus made the world and all these legendaries, that they naturally fizzled out into being alongside a certain region. So after Arceus makes the lands and waters via Kyogre and Groudon for people, they settle in Hoenn and are Hoenn's respective guardians. So Hoenn has Kyogre and Groudon, Unova had Zekrom and Reshiram. Every region had their respective guardians, and 3,000 years ago was when this giant war happens that splits all the legendary Pokemon away from the region into this dormant sleeping form, to where we get a very disconnected modern day. I even ran into this line when looking at some of the books. Here it is in Japanese. It
There we
says, Sanzenen Maini, 3,000 years ago, in Kalos one day, a mysterious Pokemon appeared. It says that this Pokemon's name was Xerneas, and it helped people. This
Xerneas.
is not on the forefront of what Game Freak made us think the war was about. You don't see no Xerneas in that depiction 3,000 years ago. But this is in a book in X and Y right now. There's the 3,000 year mark mentioned again. Yveltal has the same history written about it as well, that 3,000 years ago, it appeared and took the souls of many, and people feared it. This sounds like Xerneas and Yveltal being on Kalos' side of the war, Xerneas helping the wounded, and Yveltal fighting the Pokemon, taking souls, an active part, actively helping Kalos in this part of the war. They were all good legendary Pokemon to their region. And funny enough, this 3,000 year mark, in Game Freak's mindset, Xerneas, Yveltal, and Giratina would have been on the battlefield at the same time. wherever their
Yveltal's a
mind was
beast,
during this
dude.
beta. This makes all these various legendary Pokemon established for each region. Not
Ooh, I
looking
wonder if we're gonna
just
get
forces of nature, but in
Yveltal
regions,
card.
forces of nature.
Another
Now,
one.
I'm digressing, but I wanted to make this video to show you the potential of what really could be going on.
Okay.
And even if the interview says,
Really nice one.
Masuda wants to say it's
I like the
two
other one,
each
but it was
other,
kind of basic.
well, their actions are revealing something much different. There are way too many different countries for you to make your games based off, rather than you sticking in the exact same part of the world and developing Kalos' surrounding nations. The 30th anniversary is coming up, and if they wanted to do something homage-like, they would finally go to Guyana and expand Mew's lore, make a whole region, Gen 10. But it's not just Guyana. There's Peru, the Philippines. There's so many places in the world, but they stick to this one region. It's because the AZ War was against a bunch of regions, and it was to show a time period of many legendary Pokemon all living in regions alongside them. Not like humans sipping tea, right? It's not like Kyogre was sipping tea with the humans, but they were to some extent passive and loyal to various regions, which is why, in the modern day, you happen to find these legendary Pokemon
Just to be
in
able
these regions.
to go
You
off
wake
the
up Kyogre
dome
Groudon from the Cave of
and
Origin.
spout lore
Rayquaza
like
is where
this.
in the world, but
It's
on
crazy.
Sky Pillar. Dialga and Palkia lurk where in the world, but in
It's
Sinnoh
deep.
also. About this creationist idea, this is digressing a bit, but there's no way the Pokemon that rules time and space, that's existed for 13 billion years, is pulled out by Cyrus. The actual rulers to time, space, and all, there aren't such a thing. Game Freak is going to get there eventually, but it's all Arceus. All Dialga and Palkia really are Pokemon that can mess with it. They aren't the rulers of it. And so even something as deadly as that could have just been on Sinnoh's side in the war. In this time period, it would have involved the Celestica people, the people who would have actually known the real Arceus. It expanded to a whole different level. Anyhow, to end this video, there's one last thing I saw when looking through Pokemon X and Y, which is this line right here. It's on a bookshelf. It says that even a rich and prosperous Kalos is constantly targeted, and that the king just cannot escape war, that even his beloved Floette was taken and used in the battle. And such was the nastiness and ferocity of this conflict.
Since I was
First off,
7, yeah, I
whenever
know,
I
dude.
asked the question, when was AZ king? I got my answer.
I enjoy him, though.
Somehow, I really was right to nitpick.
Sometimes
that
he's just
Gustav
sitting in
Roll
the car
Japanese.
talking about nonsense.
It really was emphasis and shock that even the king had to send his own flow.
I like
into battle.
his
But
double
the real
cameras
juice in
too,
this
the
is
multiple
mention of
angles.
how Kalos just cannot
I'll have to
escape
get a whole new
conflict,
phone to do that
just how
shit.
ugly this
These
supposed war got.
fucking
To
webcams are
imagine this is
ass.
a war that happened pretty much across the whole world, taking inspiration from how the European countries always fight each other for balance. To imagine this is a war so grand that it ended completely the era of all these regions having their own legendary Pokemon, and was the war that caused them to be buried underground, to where
I
a new
realized I
history
messed up,
begins
man.
for all these regions, is kind of crazy. Anyhow, that's just all a theory, as Matt Pat would say. I don't have any time for Ask T-Tars, but don't think about the surface level of Pokemon that you can see. When Game Freak makes these games, they function on the level underneath that, and that's where you want to look. Even if you were to combine AZ's brother into the picture, you absolutely can. Because with these kings, and as you'll see in history, it's all family. Like I said earlier, it was the grandson of the Sun King that was going to take the Spanish throne, and did take the Spanish throne, leaving behind his French. So in the same way, whoever or whatever royalty AZ belonged to, fully allows for his own blood younger brother to be the king of an entirely different nation warring against him. For all you know, we wait 5-6 years, and the identity of the old Galar king from 3,000 years ago is revealed, or the old Paldean king from back then is revealed, and it's just AZ's younger brother. And it's the same business going on today that was back then, which is just royalty fighting each other to ultimately conquer all the lands. Infinitely. Infinite wars just again and again. Anyhow, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope I left you with some WTF
That was a
moments. If I
podcast?
did,
That was good though. That was good work. Some shit to think about. Nothing's still answered though, but would be cool to see like AZ's brother or something get confirmed about the war. We'll see. What are we watching? All right, refresh. Let me see. What's Tectone doing? Should we go live while watching somebody live?
What do you get? Yep. Yep. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Hit it.
Not that he gives a
Yep.
shit, but we'll put it out there for
Yep.
him. Why not?
Nice little 4. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. fucking delicious. Yeah, we're gonna rest.
Gotcha. See, I look for fucking servers like this. I guess it's time of day. You gotta be time of day for decent Hell Let Loose servers,
Oh shit.
which I was on in the middle of the night. So, I mean, it was Friday night, right? Or what's today? Oh, today's Saturday. I named the stream Sunday. My bad, people. We'll just call it Sunday for me. Here. That's hilarious. Oh well, it's Sunday for UAP, right? I appreciate you stopping in. Always. Find some more Hassan shit. What are we watching? Let me put some, let me see. My other tab go. Going in the background a little bit. Oh, I turned it all the way down, that's why. Ruxin opening up black and white.
Today we're
Did he get anything? Seriously? The fucking Curum? That's my chase. Gonna have the Reshiram or Zekrom, but Apex Legends is. Wait, what? We'll go back. Apex. What did I see? What'd you see? Apex? Oh, championship.
Third party, right? They were keeping their eyes on the kill feed to see when the knocks were coming out, and they were communicating, trying to take over to the roof, having to split some of that side, taking that.
Pokérux challenge. Dude, he's always doing that.
We keep highlighting the stakes, everyone. It's only 6 teams.
I wonder if Moist is in day 3. I don't know.
It's where it started here earlier on within the Pro League, and this is where it ends before we transition into our match point finals lobby.
I wish I could play Apex on the computer, like on the cloud, but I have to actually play it on the console, so I can't. I need a screen capture or whatever the fuck it's called.
Was the fuse. So that's important going into this next game here. You have to also imagine the Wraith coming more so into fruition after we saw the action with the portal plays on E-District still available here to be played.
Just tell me who's left.
Or the teams that may want to lean towards the Valkyrie here, getting that purple perk, allowing you to scan through the buildings. We don't see that as often. And then side by side with the Pathfinder too, that we see usually out alongside the.
Who do you main, Greeny? For Apex. Top 3. Who's your top 3?
and then all of a sudden kind of fell off, and she somehow survived into match number 9, but it does seem like she may be going to the wayside here. But we have a lot of differing compositions in game number 9. We're seeing a smattering of conduits getting picked up, and that's by a lot of the teams on the
Bangalore? Okay, respect. The quick speed, lifeline, nice, classic.
Successfully at this point. Shopify Rebellion being one of them, currently in 16th place with 29 points. RRX
And Octane.
as well, picking up that conduit, so they want to get the early.
So you're playing meta shit.
And they want to keep that momentum going without having to worry about.
I was running Mad Maggie, which I actually did pretty. A lot of people don't like her, but I did pretty well with her. Mad Maggie, fucking, what's his name? Infrared. Viking dude, I can't remember. Third? I don't know, maybe Fuse. I like Fuse too. I like Maggie and Fuse because I can just send in an explosion before I enter somewhere. I like that.
rotate as quickly as possible. And once they find out where that zone's going to be pulling, they'll be very...
I just played from the beginning, and those are basically all the OGs. Yeah, first season I was there too. I see more people are using Maggie now. A lot of people, actually. I wonder if she got a buff or something. She got the movement speed too with the Shiny. I don't know. Oh wait, what is this? Heckin' Steve? Oh, a year ago?
To find me and rob me.
Jeez.
Like, I mean, I did. So in your convention.
A year ago, I didn't.
So in your convention videos, do you see how it could be wrong for you to get early access and shop while customers at the convention that have paid travel tickets to get in, have to wait outside for it to actually start? You know, maybe they want a Game Boy Advance SP, which seems to be a favorite of yours as far as buying goes. Do you think that is wrong to do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on. I don't think either of us really expected this a couple days ago, but
Early access to the convention? Don't you have to?
at least if we find some common ground, I'll consider
It costs money, right?
you know, an optimist, but I think I have kind of a romantic notion of trying to find something common sense.
It's an edge, but an edge you gotta pay for.
For anyone who doesn't know, I made some videos a while back. I haven't done as many recently about going to a convention and making some large deals like before the initial period of general admittance. So I would go around, buy a lot of stuff that, you know, works for our margins, do bulk deals where I can with the vendors. My camera's freaking out a little bit here. And that was definitely a contentious thing. A lot of people felt like it was unfair because I have early access that other people can't necessarily get. And to that I would say, I definitely understand the sentiment, but the way that video game conventions, at least everyone I've been to, is structured, is a lot less like sort of a egalitarian utopia and much more like a meritocracy where you can sort of buy different levels of access. So at the highest level, you can become a vendor, right? And you get to be
Right.
I guess that's the highest
Exactly.
level.
You gotta pay for your.
But short of that,
It's pay to play.
you get accepted, and then you have access the whole time, no questions asked. And vendors do at every convention I've been to, buy and sell.
It just hurts your feelings, but you gotta get over it, right? It's just the way it is. What are these guys doing?
Good morning, all. Depending when you're watching. Good morning, all. Evolution. The thing is, when I do these videos about new sets, I sit down pretty soon after the set is revealed, and I show you everything we know at the moment I make the video. But inevitably, when I do these videos, I'm pretty fast. And then more gets revealed.
Does he get
And there's a lot of
slower?
Stuff we know about Mega Evolution, now that upcoming set, that we didn't know when I made the previous video. But we do know it now, so we can go and have a good old gander at it. Sound like a plan? Excellent. Starting off with, we've got a bunch of stuff we can talk about here. Let's start off with one-pack blisters featuring Drifloon and Drifblim. They're brand new. They are never before seen. They are, well, never before seen in English. They are new cards, mechanically unique. This is lovely. Now, you might be looking at this thinking, what's it, that's all well and good, my friend, but we can't see the cards. The cards are covered by the coin. How are we supposed to know what the cards do? Well, wonderful news. I can help you out with that. Because these were gym promos over in Japan, so that means that we can just have a look at the Japanese version of the card, and I can tell you what the Japanese version of the card did, and then hopefully that'll work out quite nicely. Now, as a fun side note, these were from the gym promo pack that came around with Battle Partners in Japan, which was the gym promo pack that gave us Hot's Pink Urchin, a card we don't have yet, but we should have pretty soon, hopefully. So as for the Drifloon then, what do we have? Well, we got one attack for a single energy, whereby you flip a coin. Whale ought to be good, but I don't think it is. Now, it does have 240 HP, which is gigantic for a stage 1 single prize Pokemon, and it does 10 plus 50 for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. Yes, there is obviously an argument to combine this with Baxcalibur, pop a bunch of energy on and smash, but no, I don't. What else do we know about WoW? We got a couple of products which we kind of knew were coming. The booster bundle is coming, 6 packs at the price of 6 packs. Traditionally, I would always tell you that for special sets where you cannot buy booster boxes, these are really good, because they're the cheapest way to buy packs. For regular sets, where they're just like, boo, here's the contents, jobs are good and have fun. Very nice. And if we just zoom in a little bit here, we can see the sleeves, we can see the dice and coin and all of that, and frankly, it's lovely. Really like the design here, like what they're doing, and of course we've seen a nice close-up of the Riolu promo, and that's rather lovely. Lovely. Here is the contents. We have that picture we always...
So it's the same promo? What was the Bulbasaur promo?
They've gone and just shown us everything. It's lovely. Here is the contents.
Box topper? That's what it was, yeah.
Like, boo. Here's the contents, jobs are good and have fun. Very nice.
Or one of them was a box topper. Gotcha. An hour ago. Tectone and Asmongold just would go back and forth with each other. Stream what each other are saying. Oh, Paul. Give him a thumbs up. Oh shit.
Part 13. Part 13. I'll see you next time. Peace. Oh, let me save it.
Later, Paul.
Is this asthma?
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening!
What is going on
With this jumbo card.
on VMAX?
That's hilarious.
3 days ago, my friend Skibby BB posted this video where he's basically stating that the PSA 10 Evo 4 on VMAX should be as much, if not more, than the Moon brand, as you can read in the captions below. And that's all it took? Is that where we are, people? Really?
Just an excuse, yep.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening!
That's crazy.
There's a YouTube.
The pokey player, this guy. Wait, where'd he go? He blew up quick, dude. I watched him from the very early on. He's hilarious, though. He knows his shit. Tim Dillon. Old Epstein, dude. What's this? A trailer? I can't take it. Sorry. Can't do it.
Welcome back to the...
Twisted collects these Japanese Pokemon cards.
YouTube, what is
So,
going on? Welcome back to the channel for
the
a
corresponding cards,
collect- poke-
besides the promo.
Pokemon collecting and investing video. Today we have some of the top the list for this week's.
Yeah. God, dude. This guy. No offense, bro, but you started out sacrificing. Wait. Yeah. $1,000. Started a business. Had $1,000 in 10 days. And I almost quit. Failure. Flames. Scammed. Negative 7,000. Yep. Shout out. That's funny. Take it slow, guys. Calm down. Just jump in, start a fucking business. Have a whole bunch of money for that first. Mimic Brew. Hottest cards of the week. Bro's getting cooked. Yeah, dude. I've been keeping up with him every now and then. It's just it's more and more in debt as he goes. That's funny. The promo FOMO. Let's go home. Turn some music on, damn it. I'll probably get off here soon. What time is it? 3 o'clock? Yeah. Some shit to do in an hour. Kids next door, dude. Hey, bud. What do you got all over your face? Oh, sherbet? Get you a wash, baby wipe. Yeah. You got shit all over your face, dude. What? Huh? I don't know. Come, grab me a baby wipe right there. 3. Grab me a baby one. Jeez, I'm probably about to have to dip. Baby catfish. Alright, Greeny, I'll see you later. I'm gonna call it. They found me. I'll see y'all. I'm gonna change the stream name. I thought it was fucking Sunday. RIP. Alright, guys. Love y'all. I appreciate you stopping in. How do I get off of here? Alright. Later, guys.